Recently, Dodge confused everyone by saying they will not sell electric cars, but they will sell cool electric cars. Let's dig into that and see what the heck they're talking about. So as part of Dodge's announcement, they said they're going to be releasing an all-electric muscle car in 2024. In this video, we're going to look at what the specs might look like on this car, the different variations, and of course, how fast it might be. Before we jump into the first variation, let's talk about the EV platform that all of these cars will be built on. At the beginning of 2021, a massive corporation was formed called Stellantis. This was basically a merger between Fiat Chrysler and France's PSA Group. This company is responsible for design, manufacturing, and engineering of a ton of different cars, Dodge included. So they announced a modular system where they'll have different size platforms to go into different size cars. So everything from a two-door little car like a Fiat up to an SUV or commercial vehicle they'll be able to support. So they talked about the STLA large frame, which will have a battery pack between 101 kilowatt hours and 118 kilowatt hours, and this would be the platform that would support the American muscle cars. They didn't go into a ton of detail, but they did mention motor outputs. So in this large platform, they're going to have a range from 150 to 330 kilowatt output in these motors. And it's not clear if they'll be able to do dual, tri, quad motor, what they'll do. But today we're going to walk through those variations and see. So I created the first variation, which is a dual motor version. So starting with weight, I used the Hellcat Red Eye wide body weight, which is 4,500 pounds. Dodge isn't necessarily known for creating light cars. I only added 300 pounds to that Red Eye weight, so it's maybe a little bit optimistic, but with battery technology, and they'll probably be able to remove weight other places. The 6.2 liter in the existing Hellcat does weigh over 500 pounds, so there is a lot of weight there to be taken out. We arrive at 4,800 pounds for the curb weight. Again, using dimensions for the Hellcat wide body. And then I set the drag coefficient to 0.23, so that's pretty good. The Tesla Model S is sitting at about a 0.21 right now, so this is just a little bit worse than that. I think that's realistic. So for power, each motor creates 330 kilowatts, so total output 660 kilowatts, which is equal to 885 horsepower. For power curve, I'm basically using the Tesla Plaid power curve because I'm assuming in the future that all these EVs can get over the back EMF problems and create essentially flat power curves. We're starting to see that more and more. And the torque to power ratio is about 1:1, so I came out with 910 foot-pounds total output. And I'm assuming that this car will redline up to about 20,000 RPM. Again, I'm using some Tesla figures, but this is starting to become more of a norm. I know Lucid Motors quoted 20,000 RPM redline on their motors as well. And finally, for final drive ratio, I'm using 8 in the front and rear. This will give the car a speed of over 200 miles an hour at 20,000 RPM, and it will give it plenty of torque off the line. So let's see how fast this dual motor configuration is in a quarter mile. I've set up the drag race, and it'll be on a dry surface. If you've liked the video so far, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already. Let's jump back into the race. All the tires are square stance, so 275, 40, 20 all the way around. And we get a 0 to 60 of 2.5 seconds with 1 foot rollout subtracted. And in the quarter, we see 10 seconds on the dot at 143 miles an hour. I think these are pretty realistic times. 10 seconds for a flagship model is pretty respectable, maybe dipping into the 9s on a drag strip. With all of the crazy fast EVs that are coming out, like the Plaid and the new Lucid Air, I can't imagine Dodge is going to sit on the sidelines in 3 years from now and just let these things be way faster. They have to compete. And so here's my theoretical flagship model. You could call it the Demon model, or they've quoted the Hammerhead name. I added some curb weight. This is basically the tri-motor version of what I just showed you. I added 200 pounds, or up to 5,000 pounds. Same dimensions, same drag coefficient. For power, I put it conveniently at 1320. I believe the math comes out to like 1328, but I could see them doing some corny thing where they make an ode to drag racing and do 1320. If you don't know the significance of 1320, it's how many feet are in a quarter mile. For torque, it comes out to 1,360 foot-pounds. And I'm using the high-end range of the battery pack size they quoted, so 118 kilowatt hours. Same red line, same final drive ratio. Let's see how fast it is. So I've set up the drag race with this tri-motor version. It's going to be a quarter mile on a dry street surface. And off the bat, we can see a really hard launch, so 2.10 to 60 time with rollout subtracted. And it's keeping that power really high all the way through the quarter mile. We're getting 9 seconds flat at 161.5. Let's move over to a prep surface and see how fast this thing gets. So here's the prep surface quarter mile. As we can see, a much harder launch, much better traction. We get a sub 2 second 0 to 60 time, 1.9, and the thing is still ripping. And we see an 8.8 second quarter mile in this thing at 162 miles an hour. But Dodge is known to do some crazy stuff. They put street legal drag radials on the Demon. So I thought, why not put drag radials on this tri-motor setup? And let's see how hard this thing launches. So it's got square stance drag radials all around. Let's see how fast this thing can get from 0 to 60 and finish the quarter mile at. So we get a 0 to 60 of 1.58 with 1 foot rollout subtracted. And it just rips through the quarter mile. Same trap speed, 161, 162 at 8.56. So this is basically just as fast as a Rimac Nevera, but it's got a lot less top end speed and just a ridiculously hard launch. So this is all assuming Dodge can make sure this car doesn't blow up, because that is a ridiculous amount of torque. If you see in the drag race, it pulled over 1.5 Gs in that 0 to 60 acceleration. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed. These variations are pretty cool to see. I hope Dodge makes something really, really special. They're known for producing ridiculous muscle cars. Maybe they'll do something ridiculous with their new EV cars. If you want to create your own drag races, go to motormatchup.com. You can find the simulation that I showed here on motormatchup.com. There's a ton of different cars. It's free to use. It's really cool. If you're curious about how the simulation works, I have some other videos that cover the topic, and I plan to come out with more videos, so make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.